Welcome to the KISC My Health Radio show series on Building Fortunes Radio. KISC My Health is brought to you by the universally recognized Cranberry King, Captain Cranman, Stephen Lukawski. Over the past 30 years, Stephen has worked with North American dietary supplement companies in the nutraceutical industry. His efforts and connections generate ingredient sales through innovative delivery systems and effective marketing and brand management strategies. Today on KISC My Health, Stephen is joined by guest host Peter Mingils. Make sure you check out previous KISC My Health episodes at www.buildingfortunesradio.com or KISCMyHealth.com. Along with our marketing partners, we are here to help our customers improve their health, build their businesses, and make the world a better place. At KISC My Health, we know how much your health and your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell another friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now, on to our show with your hosts, Captain Cranman and Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to us on the KISC My Health Radio show. Again, my name is Peter Mingils. We are here with Stephen Lukawski. I'm going to give you a brief introduction real quick about the radio show for those people that are new listeners. The way this whole thing got started is back in 2012, I decided that I wanted a platform to be able to pass microphones into the hands of people that were having interesting things to talk about. And I started Building Fortunes Radio. One of my first guest hosts on a regular basis was Jim Turner. He's an attorney over in Washington, D.C., ran an organization called Citizens for Health. Jim was an original Ralph Nader Raider, for those people that are old enough or new enough to be able to remember who he was. But he wrote a book called The Chemical Feast, and we did about a decade worth of radio shows on Fridays at noon on the Citizens for Health radio show. Jim was unbelievable. He unfortunately passed away in January of 2022. Broke my heart, as well as the hearts of a lot of other people as well. He was a mentor, unbelievable knowledge. Again, being that attorney over in Washington, D.C., he handled things like the Deshay Act and a whole bunch of other stuff as well, dealt with stuff like homeopathy. He's probably one of the reasons why you have natural products and organic as far as the labeling is concerned. But when he passed away, I begged the people over at Citizens to please find me a replacement, and eventually they did after a year or more. I did replays during that whole time. They found for me James Gormley. James Gormley became the president of Citizens. Citizens.org is their domain name. And we did a couple of months' worth of radio shows together. In January of 2024, we started. And then suddenly James asked me, I wanted to keep track of where the timeline was. After a couple of months of regular radio shows with James Gormley and I, he asked me if I could have if he could have a guest host. And I said, of course. And he said, I'm going to bring on a gentleman. He's the King of Cranberries. I'm like, okay, that's okay. I didn't know somebody would be the King of Cranberries. He's also going to be the Captain Cranman. I'm like, this is getting more interesting. And I said, okay, well, you do the interview. I'll just listen in. Well, we found out it was going to be Stephen Lukawski. He had a LinkedIn, which I joined. And over the next year, I was kind of, a big Stephen Lukawski fan. I would get his posts on LinkedIn. I saw he was a good guy promoting really good people, doing wonderful things to make the world a better place. My kind of guy. Until August of 2024, Stephen and I really didn't need to speak, but in August of 2024, James Gormley suddenly passed away. I figured I would do the right thing. I called people that I knew, that knew him, and when I called Stephen, he said he knew as well because he was working with James at that time. And James was a great publisher and a good man, and we both said, we can't let this go. We have to memorialize James Gormley. So in that conversation, I mentioned something about our KISC book I was writing, which, by the way, still hasn't been written yet. So for all those people that take 15 years to write a book, I'm probably going to be one of those people. But the KISC training I've done forever, it was the Keep It Simple Circle stuff. And Stephen jumped on top of the whole conversation. He said, you know what, Peter, we're going to do a memorial for James Gormley. Then we're going to do a KISC My Health radio show series. I said, really? I said, Stephen, okay. And he said, well, let me tell you more. I know a lot of other people whose stories need to be told, and their personal stories, and they're great people in this industry, and they do make the world a better place. And there's more people just like James Gormley that the world needs to know about, and we're going to call them key influencers, super champions. I said, that sounds pretty good to me. So I bought KISCMyHealth.com, KISC myhealth.com, and the rest, as they say, is history. We've done over 100 separate personalized radio shows. One of our favorite segments, our Building Fortunes radio listening audience loves this. Our KISC My Health radio listening audience loves this. We put it on Amazon and Spotify and all the big and all the small podcast repeaters, and it goes all over the place on healthcoach.news and everywhere else on the planet. And I want to say thank you to our previous and present and future corporate sponsors, because we couldn't do this without you. I want to say certainly thank you to our active and our passive listeners. So I'll give you a little instructions here. Passive listener just listens. An active listener actively shares. So thanks for the sharers. And, of course, I want to say thank you to Stephen Lukawski, for whom this would not be possible, because I don't know all these 100-plus people, and today's guest is going to be another one of those great ones. I'm going to get out of the way as fast as I can and introduce Stephen Lukawski on the KISC My Health Radio Show. Stephen, take it away.
Hello, and thank you, Peter. Wow, that was a long intro. Good for you, Peter. You got everything all covered.
Well, when you tell me to keep it short, I just double down. We just make it a little longer.
Oh, that's all right. Let me tell you, we've had almost a 2-year run now, over 100 interviews, and they all are fantastic interviews. They are just I'm a better person for each one that we've interviewed, Peter, over the years, and the last 100 interviews, everyone has brought so much talent to the radio show, and it's just amazing to hear all the qualities of these people and what they've accomplished, their success stories, their journeys, and I just, I thought I did a lot of work, but when I hear all these other people, I go, wow, look what they've accomplished and what I haven't done as of yet. So this is just amazing. Again, our radio show is not about products. It's not about services. It's not about companies. It's about people that make a difference in this world, people that actually go out the extra mile and do things for others, always sacrificing themselves ahead of before others, and they want to see other people succeed, and today's guest is no exception. This person here, has done so much and still doing so much, and not just in the natural product industry, but in this world. It's a genuine, great human being, and most importantly, he's made a difference in this world. And as a father, a businessman, and a loving husband, he's just done a great job. And it's our sponsors, Joe Bradley and the Step Change Innovation team over there, Pure Brands. Thank you so much for your work that you've been doing for our sponsorship. Heather Wayner and the Charlie's Angels team over there. Once again, they've been right with us right from the beginning. This show would not be possible without your support. It's a not-for-profit radio program. We don't monetize this. This is all about for the listeners. The listeners get a chance to be able to, hear inspirational stories, knowing that others have climbed the ladder both personally and professionally. There was no silver spoon rides. Everything was hard work, true grit, passion, effort, and they want to share that ride with you. That no 2 days the same in their lives, and what they've accomplished really has been based upon hard work and efforts, and they want to pass some guidance and advice on to you, and hopefully you'll get something from the show like I always do, and how to be able to go out there and make a difference in this world. So before I introduce our next amazing interview guest, legendary icon leader, let's break for a commercial with Pure Brands Organics.
Here we go.
KISC My Health Radio welcomes our corporate sponsor, Pure Organic. What if reducing sugar didn't mean giving up the foods and drinks you love? That's the philosophy behind Pure, spelled P-Y-U-R-E, at pureorganic.com. Pure believes that if healthier food doesn't taste great, people simply won't stick with it. So they've created a full line of plant-based, organic, and organically sweetened sugar alternatives designed to deliver the sweetness you love without the sugar overload. From granulated sweeteners and liquid syrups to their powerful single-ingredient stevia extract, Pure makes it easy to sweeten your coffee, upgrade your recipes, and enjoy better choices without sacrificing flavor. And Pure is not just helping consumers at home. They also work behind the scenes with food, beverage, and supplement companies nationwide, helping brands reduce sugar while maintaining the taste, texture, and experience customers expect. With decades of expertise in food science and formulation, Pure is helping reshape the future of sweetness. Want to learn more about Pure? See their full line of products, discover their story, and explore what makes them different at pureorganic.com. That's P-Y-U-R-E organic.com. Visit pureorganic.com today and taste the future of sweetening. At KISC My Health Radio, we want to thank Pure for being our corporate sponsor. Now back to our show. Take it away, Peter.
Thank you, Pure, for being our corporate sponsor. Steve and Lukawski, let's start. I don't think I hear Stephen. Stephen!
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I
You're
am
welcome.
so glad that we're back because with our next guest, I've been waiting for over a month to get him on, and we finally got him on now. And let me share with our listening audience, this is going to be a amazing interview. You're going to hear about someone who operated Gold's Gyms for 8 years. And been in the natural product industry and has moved beyond that into other professions. But before I do introduce him, I would like to just let him know how much of an opportunity it has been for me to be able to reach out and to learn about what he's accomplished, because there's people outside of our natural product industry, Peter, that have moved on and have done, just amazing careers outside of what we do every day. So, but anyway, I am now going to interview and introduce at the same time A.J. Ferrara. Welcome to the show, KISC My Health. A.J.
Stephen, hi. Great to talk to you.
Oh, it's amazing to have you on the show. I am so proud of what you've accomplished and for what I know about you. It's just been, an honor for you to take the time to join us. Who is A.J. Ferrara? Well, let me just let the listening audience know what A.J. has accomplished up to now in his career, because it's just a privilege here. A.J. is a producer, multi-option screenwriter based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. A.J. recently completed 4 write-for-hire projects, including a feature-length book adaptation titled Jane's Dust, a drama feature titled El America, based on the best-selling book by Joseph Orazi, and the feature drama Mama Dallas. Currently, A.J. has a feature drama Dossier, which won the Best Feature Film at 2026 Julianne Dubuque International Film Festival, scheduled for 2026 release, along with a slate of original features in development, including a political thriller called A Noble Lie, a thriller titled Wreckage, to be produced by Little Studio Films, a thriller, The Book of Judah, and a paranormal thriller, Blue Pearl. A.J.'s diverse career began in the television advertising business in New York, where he worked on the Nissan Auto and Miller Brewing accounts at William S.C. Company. Later, he moved into sales and sales management at Major Market Television and Blair Television, where as a New York sales manager, he was responsible for over $50 million in annual broadcasting billing. In 1995, A.J. moved to Fort Lauderdale, where he created South Florida Health and Fitness as the parent company for a chain of South Florida's Gold Gym franchises. As vice president and managing partner, A.J. was responsible for all the key aspects of the business, with a focus on long-term growth planning, marketing, sales strategies, and raising investment capital. By 2005, the company had grown to 4 locations. So A.J. served 8 years now on Gold's Gym South Florida Ad Alliance, which created and placed local advertising campaigns for its 26 franchisees, as well as 2-year term on Gold's Gym National Advertising Committee, which was charged with creating and implementing the corporate marketing campaigns for the 500-plus U.S. franchises. In 2006, A.J. sold his Gold Gym interest while converting 1 store to the UFit Health Club franchise model, which has also afforded A.J. the opportunity to further explore his passion for writing. The health club business was sold in 2014 as A.J.'s unique storytelling ability and screenplays garnered attention. A.J. is also an award-winning photographer and represented by Alexia Melucci Little Studio Films. Congratulations, A.J.
Thank you.
What a blessed career you have had up to now.
Sounds a lot bigger when you read it.
Well, let me share. We're dealing with a movie producer here. I'd like to learn more about this, other than that the Gold's Gyms that you have built and sold, and all the work that you've done up to now. Let's talk about this award-winning film that you've Dozier.
Right.
Let's talk about
it's actually pronounced Dozier.
Dozier,
which is the name of the primary character. It's General James Dozier. It's a true story. It's based on General Dozier's time working for NATO as a 3-star general. He was based in northern Italy. This is in early 1980s, 1980-81. And he was kidnapped by a terrorist, a communist terrorist cell known as the Red Brigades. They were causing havoc throughout Italy all through the 70s. So it's basically how he was kidnapped and rescued. He was the only person that was rescued from all the people that the Red Brigades were kidnapping over the 3 or 4 years leading up to that. General Dozier lives, he's still alive. He's 95 years old now. He lives in Fort Myers. My good friend and the producer-director of this film, Max Leonarda, brought me on to co-write the project back in 2022. So 4 years later, the movie's done. It did win a film festival award, which is great, and we're close to getting distribution as we speak.
Well, is this the first film you ever produced?
I didn't produce it. I'm a co-writer on this.
Well, a co-writer.
My friend.
Yeah. You did.
My friend Max Leonarda is the director and the producer on this film.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks. I've been writing for 15 years. This is the first film that I actually have produced, which goes to show you how hard it is.
Yeah. But no, has this always been a dream of yours of wanting to do this?
No, not at all. You talked about where I started. This is my third career. I started in advertising. I did that for almost 18 years. Just when I was probably at the peak of that career, I picked up my family and moved to South Florida. My wife and I agreed that we would take that shot. It gave her an opportunity to go back to work because we had 3 little kids at the time, and she was the chief financial officer of the company. So we basically built that company, and that night it was actually 19 years we were in the health club business. 10 of them were as a Gold's Gym, and the other 9 were basically as Planet Fitness or Indoor UFit.
Wow. So let's go back a little bit here then, because you were in the advertising business. How did you end up getting involved in the Gold's Gym side of it?
Well, I was always into fitness, even when I was in the health in the advertising business. I've been working out, I guess, over 40 years now. And training for different things. When I was in my 20s, I played a lot of basketball and tennis. And then when I got close to 30, I started lifting weights more, and I was into that. And we had this idea that it would be cool to become a personal trainer and own a gym. And we were looking around up in Westchester County for a while, and then we decided in the late 80s if we could get to Florida somehow, we'd love to move to Florida for so many reasons, and the weather's the least of them. And so in 1991, we took a shot, and I bought the rights to a franchise called Joe Weider Fitness Gym. Anybody who's in the bodybuilding area or even the fitness area remembers Joe Weider. So we had this franchise that he was starting up, and I bought one for South Florida. And we raised the money. We found a location. Actually came down with my wife and my 2 twin daughters, who were actually 4 years old at the time, and we were looking at houses to buy. And literally about a month before we were going to sign documents, Hurricane Andrew hit. And that basically put the kibosh on that entire deal because, that was probably the worst hurricane that hit South Florida in 50 years. And we ended up losing the money that we had put up for the Joe Weider Fitness Gym. And so then I decided, you know what, let's just forget about this for a while. Let me just focus on the job that I have. And I was literally called out of the blue by someone I had met from the Weider franchise, and he in the middle of 1994, and he said, "Are you still interested in owning a health club?" And I yelled at him. I said, "You know, I'm going to say yes to that, but you're messing me up here. I'm doing very well where I am right now." But I couldn't say no, so we investigated, and we bought this Gold's Gym in Miami. It was kind of a turnaround. It had been open like 9 years, and it was floundering. And we were, we scraped every penny. We took a loan against our house. We moved and we took a shot, and we bought this health club on the cheap. This is the best way I could describe it, for not a lot of money. And we took a shot, and we went from there. It took us. I thought we could turn it around in 6 months. It took 2 years. So that was how we got here. But then once we got used to the differences between running a health club versus running a corporate division, there are some differences, but there are a lot of things that are similar. But once we learned the nuts and bolts of the gym business, it started to pick up, and we went from there.
So who would be your customer at Gold's Gym? Can you describe that customer of yours, that member of yours?
Yeah, everybody. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think it would be? You would think it would.
Based on my experience at Gold's Gym, it was like a boys teenage club from high school. We'd go, all right. It would be a sweatbox club where you work out.
That's what it was when we bought it. It was a muscle builders gym. It was steroids were rampant in the gym, as they were across South Florida in the mid-'90s, and so we had a big job to do. We had to get all of that out of there, starting with the roids, and we were throwing people out of the gym left and right. What our vision was for Gold's Gym was to make it more family friendly without leaving the main mission that people perceive Gold's Gym to be. And we did that over time. We renovated the club by the end of the first year. We cleaned it up. More people started coming in who were not bodybuilders. But we did it for 10 years as a Gold's Gym, and I brought in a partner, and between the two of us, we were Gold's Gym guys, without a doubt. We loved everything about Gold's Gym. We loved the corporate people. It was owned by 3 guys in California who had bought it from Joe Gold, and we loved everything about it. They had a convention every year in Las Vegas, which we went to every year. It afforded us a lot of flexibility to run it our way as long as we did certain things that they wanted. There were no royalties, and it was a great situation. But the issue was always, at the time, 13 to 15% of the population was estimated were gym members someplace, and we had a very small market share of that. And the primary reason was the normal person who wants to join a gym would come in and they'd look around and they'd say, you know what, I think I need to lose some weight before I can join here. And we would tell them, no, you don't have to do that. In fact, just by the fact that you're weight training and gaining muscle, you'll lose weight. But it was the perception and the intimidation factor of Gold's Gym that was always something that held us back. Even in the years where we did well, that we always felt like there was an untapped market that we couldn't reach.
Yeah, I remember walking in, even in Florida, in Naples, there was a Gold's Gym.
Yep.
And I think there was one in Bonita Bay area. And you saw, a lot of muscle guys, already, physique, well physique. It was like so intimidating to go in there when you wanted, but it was inspirational too because you could see what you could become if you worked hard. But it wasn't clean though. That was the only thing. Like it just
right. That was one of the things that we fought in the other clubs. In South Florida, there were when I first got here, there were 12 Gold's Gyms in South Florida, and most of them were as you described. But new owners were coming in, and over time, like a lot of us, we changed the names. Like we called it Gold's Gym and Aerobics. We added spinning. We added an aerobics program, and those are things that helped grow the business. And as we added locations, we bought into one other existing location, and then we over time between 97 and 2000, we built two others. So we had 4 locations, 2 in Miami-Dade and 2 in Fort Lauderdale, and they were all Gold's Gym and Aerobics. So we had our niche. It was different from the pure bodybuilding places. And as the other clubs were doing the same thing, by the year 2000, 5 years after we got here, there were 26 Gold's Gyms in South Florida and 56 in the state of Florida. That was one more than in California.
Wow.
So in that year 2000 to 2005 window, we were doing very well.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think happened to the Gold's Gym, philosophy? What was this downturn?
Well, 2 things happened. In 2003, LA Fitness started coming into the market. And when you are competing, when a competitor comes in offering the same price point, but offering substantially more amenities, racquetball, basketball, swimming pool, all of these other things, that becomes a problem. And then in 2005, Gold's Gym International sold to TRT Holdings, which is Omni Hotels.
Yes.
And their mission was to make Gold's Gym look as much like LA Fitness as possible. So in 2005-2006 window, all the South Florida gym licenses were coming up for renewal, and they wanted us to switch to a franchise model with a brand new contract and a brand new franchise fee and royalties. And the thing for me that was the straw that broke the back was they wanted us to sign a 10-year personal guarantee on the new deal. So you've got, a personal guarantee, not on the rent, not on the commercial space, on their actual franchise deal. So you had 20 owners in an uproar. They didn't know what to do, and so we, along with one other owner, suggested that we have 26 clubs here. Let's just leave the brand and start our own. And we were the only 2 owners out of all of them who thought that was a good idea. Oh. So that didn't happen. And every single owner in South Florida decided to stay with Gold's Gym except for one. And that was me. And they thought I was crazy. But in June of 2006, I sold off my ownership in the other 3 clubs. I kept the original one in Miami, and we became Planet Fitness. And what happened in the year after that blew me away, because as soon as we started advertising that we were no longer Gold's Gym and we were Planet Fitness, and it was a $10 model where you could join for $10 a month, we were inundated. I never saw anything like it. In the best year that we had Gold's Gym in that location, I think we had 2,000 members. 2 years into the $10 model, we had 6,000 members.
Yeah. Wow.
It was crazy.
Wow.
And that was the thing, that the Planet Fitness model and later the YouFit Health Clubs model were geared towards the direct opposite of what Gold's Gym was. And that turned out to open that's what opened the faucets and allowed us to reach the market that we had never been able to reach.
Yeah. AJ,
it's hard for me to fathom being a Gold's Gym guy, but that's the way it went.
Yeah, but that business model of $10 a month, I think that was enough and people could walk away without a commitment. Right after, it was like, because that was the problem with a lot of clubs that went out of business. They took your money up front, then they went out of business, and they left a real sour taste in your mouth as to go work with them because you didn't know if they were going to be in business or not. And
correct. Well, in the state of Florida, you had to have a bond, a $10,000 bond. So even if you were taking paid in full memberships, which we did as Gold's Gym, we didn't prefer it, but we would take it. But they, customers knew that you were bonded, and if something went out of business, that they had access to get their money back. But the model that's most successful is recurring monthly dues, and I would say during the years that we had that $10 model, we had 94% of the members on recurring monthly dues.
And then, but now describe a Planet Fitness at that time versus a Planet Fitness today.
I can't speak to how they are today because now they're a publicly held company. But we were Planet Fitness for 3 years, and the problem that we had with them was that they were very strict about what their model was supposed to be. And we had some additional elements that we had grown very strongly as a Gold's Gym, the personal training division. We were the first health club in South Florida back in 1997 to install silver sneakers, which is everywhere now. If you don't know what that is, it's a Medicare-based program that runs through healthcare providers, and it's basically free gym membership for senior citizens. And the gyms get there's a negotiated rate where Medicare pays them for a certain number, up to 10 visits per month when the person comes in. But the member can come every day if they want. And we had built that up to it was a substantial revenue thing. But the more important thing to me was the way it was helping people in the community in South Florida. We would see 80-year-olds coming in with walkers and canes, and the basic silver sneakers class, the people just sit in a chair, and the instructors using very light hand weights and bands and things like that. They just try to build up their some of their core strength. And you'd see 6 months later people who had come in with a walker out in the gym doing circuit training on their own. It was amazing. Wow. And that's a huge program now. It's probably in, I would say, 90% of the clubs in the United States. But we were basically one of the first clubs to be involved in that. And Planet Fitness didn't want us to keep it. And so the way it turned, my new partner, I was involved with in Planet Fitness, he created a new model, the UFIT model, the UFIT Health Clubs, and that was after 3 years, so that would have been 2007-08. We switched to that model. It was also $10, but it allowed the flexibility for us to do what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. And were these open 24 hours?
No.
Okay.
No, they were open 5 to midnight, Monday through Saturday, and we closed. I think we're 8 to 8 on Sundays.
Yeah.
Because the 24-hour thing doesn't really work.
No, I've seen some open 24 hours. I figure.
Yeah.
I guess workers, right? They're on shifts, right? But
exactly.
Yeah, I just where I am in Naples, the LA Fitness there, I got to be honest with you, it still runs like a Gold's Gym. I am not impressed with management. I am not impressed with the cleanliness of it. All right. And I just, for me, they don't have enough good instructors because they can't keep them. Mm-hmm. All right. They probably don't pay them that well. Right. But, there's nowhere else to go in that area. And so, but it's, I don't go to, for people who are snowbirds and travel, Planet Fitness model didn't work either. Right.
Correct.
So there's always a challenge with these gyms. But I can tell you one thing though, this cross training and getting, the spinning classes and that, I really like them. And
right.
Now, what about products? Did Gold's Gym ever have nutritional products?
We had a pro shop. We carried a lot of clothing. We carried supplements. We carried some of the Gold's Gym brand supplements, but we were free to carry whichever ones we thought were best. And and depending on the club, we made a little bit of money, or in some cases we did very well in the pro shops.
Yeah, I would think some of the pro shops would make a good margin on the supplements. Because I look at Popeyes in Canada now. We have Popeyes. Do you have Popeyes there?
Sure.
Popeyes supplement. It's a franchise, I believe, in Canada. They do very well with it. But again, it's geared towards that athlete coming in and looking for whey, protein, and muscle building.
Right.
Well, anyway, I just find it fascinating how you jumped from the radio advertising to Gold's Gym and now to writing for movies. And
right.
when you did not
that. I got the itch. When I went to St. John's University, graduated a very long time ago, and I actually majored in it was communication arts and sciences, but my major was really radio production. So you can imagine back in the 70s, they were still slicing tape with a razor. That's how long ago it was. But the last semester that I was at St. John's, right before graduation, I took a course in media advertising. And I had sent out a bunch of demos, disc jockey demos to stations all around the Northeast. And as that was going in my last semester, I realized, this may not be working too well for me. So I made a quick decision to change from wanting to be a disc jockey or a newscaster, and I went into advertising. And it took me about 3 or 4 months to find a job, but I happened to find a job at a media buying service in Manhattan, and that was my first job in the industry. I was a media buyer assistant, then a media buyer for 3 years, and then I went into television sales, not radio. I was in television sales as a salesman, and then as a manager for 15 more years.
Wow, interesting. Well, I want to break for a commercial, and I want to come back.
Sure.
I want to learn a little bit more about your educational background at St. John's. All right, and a little bit more about your first job that you got out there, and some guidance and advice that you can offer the younger listeners who are on KISC My Health Radio today. So will you stay with us, and let's go, Peter, to Joe Bradley and the Step Change Innovation Team.
Here we go.
Here's a word from our sponsor, Step Change Innovations. Selling science-backed ingredients is tough. No one understands that better than industry veteran Joe Bradley. For over 20 years, Joe has blazed trails in selling science-backed ingredients into emerging markets. He's seen the challenges firsthand, the long sales cycles, the regulatory maze, and the struggle to turn groundbreaking science into retail success. That's why he dedicated his career to overcoming these hurdles. At Step Change Innovations, we're on a mission to make that journey easier for you. Whether you need expert regulatory guidance, a launch strategy that transforms your ingredient into a premium consumer product, or an outsourced sales program that fills your pipeline with quality leads, we've got you covered. Imagine your innovative ingredient not just as an idea, but as a proven, market-ready product displayed on shelves, building trust with every customer, and driving real sales. With our deep industry expertise and a robust network of suppliers, retailers, and co-manufacturers, we turn challenges into opportunities and accelerate your path to market. If selling your science-backed ingredient feels like an uphill battle, let's change that. Schedule a conversation with Joe Bradley to talk through your sales challenges and brainstorm ways to overcome them. Whether it's refining your strategy, securing retail placement, or building a sales pipeline that actually delivers, we're here to help. Visit stepchangego.com to connect today and take the first step toward getting your ingredient on shelves faster, and easier. At KISC My Health Radio, we say thank you to Step Change Innovations for being the sponsor of this podcast. Now back to our show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back. Peter Mingils here with Stephen Lukawski and A.J. Ferrara. We're talking about stuff relative to gyms, and we thank Step Change Innovation. StepChange.go is our corporate sponsor. Stephen, back to you.
Thank you, Peter. So A.J., first of all, what does A.J. stand for? What first two names?
Alfred John.
Alfred John. Okay. I love it, Alfred John. All right. So, Alfred John, are you a Floridian? Because you mentioned you went to school at St. John's. To me, that sounds like New York, doesn't it?
I am a Floridian. I've been here 31 years, so I am a Floridian, but I spent the first 40 years in New York. Grew up in Forest Hills, Queens. Went to Our Lady Queen of Martyrs, Archbishop Molay High School, and St. John's University.
Wow, St. John's. Did they have a good basketball team over there?
They sure did.
That's what I kind of thought. We've heard a couple of our past interviews that we've done with super legends talk about St. John's, and great. And even Bernie Landis, we talked to him, and he's from the Queens area, and you got to listen to his interview. Yeah, and he lives in California, but he still considers himself a New Yorker. All right. So what drove you out of New York to Florida?
So I was walking up Madison Avenue one morning when I got out of Grand Central Station, and it was about as cold as it could possibly be. And I hit the corner of 51st and Madison, and a 50-mile-an-hour gust smacked me in the face. And I looked up at the Newsweek building, and it had the time and the temperature on the top of the building, and it said -2. And I was like, I got to get the heck out of here.
What age was that?
That was probably 1988. And so then the next year, one of my good friends, his mother-in-law lived in Fort Lauderdale, and he was here on vacation, and we came down, and we spent 4 or 5 days, and it was the second time we were in Florida, my wife and I, but it was the first time we really weren't in on the beach in the hotels. It was out, in one of the neighborhoods, and we started driving around, and we looked at each other and said, "This is pretty good. This is pretty nice." And so, it took a lot of time before we figured it out, but in the back of our heads, we always wanted to find a way to get here. I actually applied to a couple of television jobs down here in the early 90s. One was as the national sales manager at Channel 10 here, which was the ABC affiliate at the time, and then the general sales manager job at Channel 5 in West Palm, which was our client. I almost got them, but I didn't get them because I had never had any local TV experience. So that didn't work. And then when the Gold's Gym thing came, we did our due diligence, but we said, hey, this is our chance.
Yeah. So let me understand something. You met is your wife also a New Yorker?
Yes, my wife and I met in Forest Hills in a subway station.
So
we were going to different high schools, but taking the same train.
Yeah, I could see that. Beautiful wife, warm sunshine of Florida. I'm getting out of New York.
Yeah, and 3 little kids.
3 little kids later. All right.
Yeah, so when we moved, my daughters were 7, and my son was 5. I'm sorry, say that again?
Do you have any sisters or brothers in your family?
I just have a sister.
You have a sister?
Yeah.
Right. What's her name?
Her name is Linda. Same as my wife. Don't read anything into that. No, it's impossible.
Oh, Lord. What was it growing up like with your sister, Linda?
it was a middle-class neighborhood, middle-class family, but we had issues because our parents, we're one of the few people who can say our parents divorced not once but twice. So there were times when there was not a lot of money. It became a big problem at certain times, but my mom's parents, my grandparents, literally lived next door to us. And they had a big impact on our life, especially like from the time we were like 10 years old. I guess my sister would have been 7 then. They were always there for us. So that was a big thing for them to be close by.
Yeah, we're blessed to have almost 2 sets of parents, and we look at it,
yeah.
It's like a mother, another mother from a different mother, right? So it's like another life.
Right.
And but we learn so much from our original parents, and then from people who come into our life when we least expect it. And I think that's what the value system. What I really, the good, bad, and the ugly of what you learned as a child. I think you remember that moving forward, and now look at
right.
you. You're a loving husband, a great father, and probably a great brother too at the same time. So you came out well. Can you describe a little bit how are you able to position yourself with resilience and breaking free from New York and going to Florida? Was it like you had to, or is it something I know what I can't do it here. I need another environment. I need another place to work and live.
We have a large extended family that was very close, and they all lived in New York, most of them in Queens. But it was a typical Italian family. They're going to do Christmas at your house, and there's going to be 35 people there, and then there's going to be 35 at Easter, and there'll be your family's going to be at that house, and because especially in the late 80s, we had a little bit bigger house, so we would do the Christmas dinner. But the family was always together. So for us, for Lynn and I to say we're moving, it didn't go over well. But we felt like we wanted to do it for multiple reasons. It was like we thought there was a better opportunity there, and it was something that we wanted. And especially my mom was not thrilled, but what can you do? We had to do it. And at the end of the day,
you left your sister with mom and went to Florida?
You betcha.
I don't blame you. I could choose Florida, a beautiful wife, and go raise a family in Florida versus New York. Oh,
well,
Lord, yeah.
Like anybody who's starting a business, you got to, if you don't realize that you got to be prepared for what's going to happen, you get smacked in the face right away. I took a 75% pay cut to do this, and the first 2 years it was a real gamble. I never thought that we would fail, but there were times where we were really choking in the first year. And I knew that it was possible to fail. My father's side, they were in the jewelry business. My uncle owned this place on Long Island. My dad owned a store in Brooklyn that was there for 3 generations. But in the early 70s, he had to move it from Brooklyn out to eastern Long Island because Brooklyn was going down the tubes at that time. But 3 or 4 years after he moved, he went out of business. And shortly after that, he passed away. So it can go wrong, and I realized that, but it never really occurred to me that would happen. But it was a very tough first 18 months.
Yeah, I'm inspired by hearing these type of stories, because it really is resilience. It's maintaining that positive attitude, and you having a loving and supporting wife to go along with you for that journey. It really is important too, to have that. How close were you with your sister?
We were always close. Mm-hmm. I think more so after, you know how kids are when you spend the time hating each other's guts. But by the time I got into college, that kind of fell by the wayside, and we were always close after that.
Yeah, I think that's important.
If not, physically where we were living, certainly, otherwise.
Yeah. Is there anything that stands out about your sister that you just, if I know
she is the strongest person, bravest person I know.
Lay a spotlight on her.
Yeah, for everything that she's been through a lot in her life, but she started where I started in television sales. She did radio sales, but the radio sales led her to a master's degree in sociology and taking over an EAP for the company that she was working for, and then ultimately buying it. And I don't know, was it probably 20 years that she owned that EAP, and she was extremely successful. But, she went through a lot. She had health issues when she was, in her early 50s, and she got through all of those. It's amazing. I give her all the credit, and she's a very strong person.
Yeah, no, it's a character. It really gets built, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? What they say.
Exactly.
In life, I just, I just think that if she was in the room, I think she'd be so proud of you and what you've accomplished, and so if there's, I don't know, I truly believe that, brothers and sisters. I have a beautiful sister, and she was just here with my mom, who just, we celebrated. My mom's 91 now, and young years of age, and great mind. Still kicks my ass.
That's great.
Yeah. So, she doesn't. She just says, sometimes she says, "Get your head out of your ass." Right? Wake up. You're always working. You got to spend time. You're never going to be happy. You just keep working. Right. So, but one thing I would say, that, if Linda was in the room and she had something to say to you, I wonder what that would be.
Hi, AJ. Surprise.
Are you there? What happened? You cut the meeting short?
There was no meeting, and actually,
oh, really?
Good thing you said nice things about me. Appreciate that.
Surprise!
That's hilarious.
Come on.
That is funny.
I learned a lot of stuff today. I was very interesting. That was really good. There was some.
Well, you had a cut tape for editing too.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. Yeah, well, it was a little bit different in the radio side things, but yeah,
exactly.
It was an interesting interview to say the least.
Yeah, well, she has some questions for you. Apparently, so she's going to ask you whatever comes to her, right?
Whatever comes to mind. Oh God, here we go.
Well, here you are, two entrepreneurs. Maybe you can ask questions because for our listening audience, what qualities do you think really why your brother was so successful? And maybe you could think, AJ, what qualities does your sister have that you really believe has helped her become this career successful woman out there?
All right, who goes first?
You go first.
You go.
Well,
Did we say that at the same time?
We'll probably have the same answer. No, you know what? I'm a true believer in general that, and I know Stephen touched on it just a little bit ago, but, adversity makes you stronger, and, you can really take adversity one way or the other, right? You can kind of fall into that victimization, poor me, or you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and put your big girl, big boy pants on and decide that you want more and you want to move forward and do well. And I think that's something that you did, very, very well. Look, you've had a number of careers and successful in really all of them, right? And so, that it takes a certain element in individuals to be able to do that. So
you were going to say a certain insanity, right?
No, really. I don't feel that way at all. Actually, I
no,
feel
I'm kidding.
that. I feel that there is an element though where you just want more. You want better. You want to kind of break free of some things that might not have been great. So you need to kind of just move forward. So that would be my answer, Stephen.
Okay. AJ? Alfred John?
He won't like you if you keep saying that.
I think that in a way we were driven by. I don't know if I should speak to Linda on this, but we were driven by wanting to have more for our family than what we had. We were not poor by any means, but we wanted it to be better, and so we were always driven. I guarantee you, none of us ever quit. Neither one of us ever quit anything that we ever did. Quitting's not an option, and if you try hard enough and long enough, you succeed. There were I can't even tell you how many business ideas that I had before I hit one that was a success. And I know Linda was always looking to something beyond what we were doing in the television and radio business, and I think we just kind of had similar drive, and that was kind of what kept pushing us over the long term.
Do you think, for the listening audience, do you think it's important for them to always, doesn't matter about the childhood, but when they, that they're given a life, and the life is one life to live, right? And to me, I've never looked back through the rear view mirror of my past. I've always looked through the windshield of where I want to go with my life, and I'm always thankful for my path, for the life that's been given to me, even though, I've always had roof over the head, and clothes on my back, food on the table, and, my parents would always want better life for me moving forward. So they were always very disciplinarian, always. I'd get out of line and I got whacked, all right? But I truly believe I needed that. I truly believe that out of bad from our childhood, we turn into good, and we become stronger and better for it. Do you feel that's happened to you too?
I think so. Absolutely.
I always be thankful to my parents that they gave me a life. And they did the best job they could, and they were, and I don't know what kind of upbringing they had either, from their mom and dads, and I just know that they struggled. They struggled. They to find jobs back then. We classified ads, right? Not enough work experience. At the end of the day, it's they didn't have the choices that we have today. And so, but I just look at what they've accomplished, and I'm so proud of you, AJ, of what you've been able to do. With your curiosity.
I think Linda would agree with this. It was very tough having divorced parents and all of the things that go with that craziness. But I think we learned the two things that we took out of that were the things that they instilled in us were the value of loyalty and honesty. And it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was just certain things that would have been said over the course of our childhoods that stick with you forever.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, those are the two words that come to mind.
And what about you, Linda? What do you look back? What do you think?
I say, listening to you, I feel like 3 years age difference makes a difference. Because I think some of your experiences might be slightly different than mine.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all by yourself, for Pete's sake.
I mean, everything's perspective too, I guess, right? And and we had same experiences, but in some degree different experiences too. So, I just feel like, when people say, well, how did you become so successful? And my answer all the time is I owe it all to my mother. Mm-hmm. I know you know what that means, right? So but that's really how I feel.
Yeah.
And so in a way, that's kind of like turning lemons into lemonade, but that's really how I feel, because I'm not so sure that I would have been as successful if we didn't have those experiences.
When we were both in the sales business in New York, for a while we were calling on the same media buyers, and I talked to a buyer, and they said, "Oh, your sister came in." I said, "Oh, tell my older sister I said hello."
Yeah, he always tried to.
And they all believed it. It was great. But the 3 year difference, I understand what you're saying, because when I'm going to say when I was 8 years old, so Linda would have been 5. We were on vacation one time, and we were having dinner at this hotel by the pool, and it was my mom and dad and us and my mom's best friends and her husband, and her best friend's father was in the mob. That's the only way I can say it. He was there too. And so we're having this dinner, and as we're eating, my 8-year-old self notices a couple of guys wearing suits across the pool that are watching us. My dad picks up the tab. We go back to the hotel room, and I noticed all of that, and I said to my dad, "Why did you pay?" And he said, "Did you see those 3 guys over there, the 3 guys in the suits over there?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Those were FBI people, and I didn't want them to see that I was getting a free dinner from somebody who was in the mob." And he proceeded to talk about like the importance of, in the business that we're in, jewelry, it's honesty is important and all of those things, and that always stuck with me.
I think that's a big word today that was lacking in a lot of businesses out there, the word integrity, and trusting, and being a man of your word, and being honorable, true with what you say you're going to do. So I think it's really, it's one of those changing times in this new world, business world that we live in today. So, but I know we have to wrap this up as we have some cutoffs here. Peter, any final say on your side?
No, I just want to say I thoroughly enjoyed listening in, and I grew up in Long Island as well. I went to Hofstra, you went to St. John's, so we're kind of the same thing. And when I ran my Electrolux offices, I had Queens as my division, so I know all the old stomping grounds. One quick question.
That's great.
Yep, one quick question. I mean, I'm going to say this, Stephen's had a lot of people from the Northeast, and I think people from New York specifically in the boroughs area are a little bit different than other people. They might be more business smart, more street smart. I'll ask both of you, how much do you think growing up in New York during that time, particularly at quote-unquote Italian, might have had an influence on your level of success? You mentioned words like loyalty. That's big in the Italian families. Even though I was born Lithuanian and Italian, I was raised Italian. So how much of the influence in New York meant for your level of success? And I'll compound that question, relative to your children really didn't grow up in New York. They grew up in Florida. Do they have the same street smarts? So I'll let you answer both questions. And Linda, you can jump in there too.
I would say 100%. I don't know. I can't say that this is the case, but I believe that growing up and working in New York is like, if you could do that, you can do anything. It was, especially in the time that we were growing up, the 70s, and especially the 70s, New York City was a wreck. Half the city was burned out. There were riots. They'd have a big blackout in the middle of the summer. It's like, we didn't even have air conditioning. What do we know? What's the difference? But just everything that we learned, the difficulties of growing up in Queens and getting your head bashed in a couple of times here and there along the way. I'm glad that we did it. I can't speak to how the city is now. Linda can, because she still lives there some of the time, but I don't miss it. It's very different here. The kids are, fortunately, they are like us. They're very driven. They both have really good jobs. They're great they're great mothers, and they're, with their husbands, they're great parents. They all, except for my son, moved to Oregon. He's not married, but my daughters and our grandchildren, they're all within 15 minutes of us. So some things never change.
Perfect. And I guess my last question, the red stuff, gravy or sauce?
Sauce.
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 Definitely sauce. Gravy is brown.
Gravy is brown.
So, Stephen, back to you. Stephen, back to you.
Yeah,
go ahead, Linda. Please add something.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. He just asked me to wrap it up for you to wrap it up, Peter. He had to step away, so I'll let you do the honors.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks for being here. Hope you come back. There's a lot of questions I would have to ask about running businesses, especially around COVID, for both of you. Maybe we'll have you ask Stephen if you can to come back. So thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll put this part of the show notes as well. Linda, thanks for being here. And then also,
thank you.
AJ, thanks for being here as well. And thanks for telling your story. And thanks for fond memories. And I'm sure you have plenty of New York stories you could share with us. So for those people listening in, thanks for listening in. You just, Stephen Lukawski had a meeting to go to, and go to KISC My Health for this radio show as well as others. So KISCMyHealth.com, and we put this up on Amazon and all the other podcast repeaters like Spotify and Building Fortunes Radio and everything else. And I'm going to say thanks everybody for listening in. We'll catch you next time. Thanks everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio show on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks for listening. This KISC My Health Radio show is brought to you by Stephen Lukawski. Stephen is known as the Cranberry King, universally known as Captain Cran Man. Stephen has over 30 years of experience working with manufacturers and marketers of dietary supplements and natural ingredients to make this world a healthier and a better place. You can check out Stephen Lukawski on LinkedIn and on the KISCMyHealth.com website. We are glad you listened in. Spread the word and check out previous KISC My Health Radio episodes. Bye for now. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. Now go make the world a better place.